If you're over 60, you have probably blamed your aching joints on one thing: age. Worn cartilage. The miles you've put on your knees and hands. But if it's really just age, why do two people the exact same age feel so different? One of them stiff and aching, the other moving just fine. A big part of the answer is inflammation, a quiet, low-grade fire that makes every joint feel worse. And it turns out some of the everyday foods you trust are quietly feeding that fire. Stay with me, because the food doing the most damage to those joints is probably one you keep around because you think it's good for you. Inflammation is not the enemy by itself. It is how your body heals a cut or fights off a cold, and then it is supposed to switch off. After 60, that off switch gets slower. The fire never fully goes out, so it sits at a low simmer in the background, and your joints are one of the first places you feel it. Stiff in the morning, achy after you sit too long, sore for no clear reason. What you put on your plate 3 times a day is either calming that simmer or feeding it, which makes food one of the few levers you actually control. One honest thing before we start. Food is not medicine. If your doctor has you on something for pain or arthritis, keep taking it because nothing here replaces that. We are talking about the everyday eating that works alongside your care to turn the background fire down. So here are 5 common foods feeding that fire and the easy swap for each. And pay close attention when we reach number 5, the one you very likely keep in your kitchen because you were told it was the healthy choice. Number 1 is white bread, along with the soft sandwich rolls, bagels, and crackers that live in the same family. I am including a lot of loaves labeled multigrain and wheat here too, because the label sounds wholesome, while the flour inside has been ground so fine your body treats it almost exactly like white bread. Ground that fine, the flour turns to sugar in your blood fast, in a sharp spike rather than a slow rise. Your body answers a sugar spike by releasing a wave of inflammatory messengers, and when those spikes come at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, day after day, that wave never really settles. It keeps the background fire topped up. For a joint that is already tender, that steady drip of inflammation is the difference between a stiff morning that loosens up and one that nags at you until bedtime. Picture your own week. Toast in the morning, a sandwich at noon, a roll with dinner. 3 ordinary meals, 3 little spikes, none of which you would ever connect to the ache in your knees. The swap keeps bread on the table. Just make it real coarse intact grain. Dense whole grain sourdough, stone ground rye, oats, barley. Foods where you can still see the grain do not spike you the same way, and they bring fiber that steadies everything around them. The mistake to avoid is trusting the word multigrain on the front of the bag. Turn it over. If the first ingredient is enriched or refined flour, it belongs with the white bread, no matter how brown it looks. Get this one right, and you take your hand off the fuel valve at every single meal. Bread is a slow feeder, though. The next one hits harder, and it is sitting in a lot of refrigerators right now. Number 2 is processed and cured meat. The deli turkey and ham in the sandwich drawer, bacon, hot dogs, salami, the breakfast sausage. Convenient, familiar, and for a lot of us a daily habit. 2 things about these meats push on inflammation at once. They tend to be high in the kind of saturated fat that nudges your inflammatory system, and they are preserved with salt and additives, then often cooked hot, which creates compounds your body reads as irritants. Together, they keep that low fire burning, and cured meats are one of the foods arthritis specialists most often name when someone asks what to eat less of. Now the good news, because the swap here does real work. Trade some of that processed meat for oily fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring. These are rich in omega-3 fats, the exact fats your body uses to build its own calming signals, the ones that help switch inflammation off. Mass General Brigham, in their guidance on eating for arthritis and joint pain, points to this Mediterranean style of eating, more fish and less processed meat, as one of the better studied ways to ease joint inflammation through food. The omega-3 story is one of the more consistent findings in this whole area. People who eat oily fish regularly tend to carry less of this background inflammation, and many who live with stiff, swollen joints notice a difference once fish becomes a habit rather than a rare treat. You do not need to love fish to get there. 2 servings a week is a sensible target. Canned sardines or salmon on that whole grain toast from a moment ago count fully, and they cost less than the deli meat you are replacing. The mistake is thinking a breaded, deep-fried fish fillet counts. It does not, and the reason why is the whole story behind number 5. For your joints, this single swap may be the highest payoff on the entire list. Number 3 is the packaged snack aisle. Crackers, cookies, chips, and the cereal bar crowd that markets itself as light or wholesome. Food's built to sit on a shelf for a year without going bad. To make food last that long and taste that good, manufacturers lean on refined oils, added sugars, and a long list of additives. That combination is close to a perfect recipe for feeding inflammation. The refined oils tilt your fat balance the wrong way, the sugar sets off those same spikes, and the whole package carries almost none of the nutrients that would calm the fire back down. You get the fuel with none of the water to put it out. A swap that satisfies the very same crunch is a handful of nuts and seeds. Walnuts, almonds, flax, chia. Walnuts in particular carry the plant form of those calming omega-3 fats. And when you want something sweet, reach for berries or cherries. The deep red and purple color in them comes from plant compounds called polyphenols, anthocyanins among them. Researchers looking at older adults have found that diets rich in these polyphenols tend to go with lower levels of inflammation markers, including C-reactive protein, one of the things doctors measure to gauge inflammation in the body. Tart cherries in particular have earned a small but real reputation among people with sore joints. The mistake to avoid is the trail mix that is really candy in disguise, loaded with chocolate chips and yogurt-covered bits. Keep it simple. Nuts, seeds, and real fruit. Snacking is often where the most damage hides, 3 or 4 times a day between meals, so fixing your snack fixes more than you would think. If this is helping, think about subscribing. I take one of these food swaps at a time and break it down in plain language, no scare tactics and no miracle promises. Number 4 is added sugar, and I want to catch it where it hides best, in foods wearing a health halo. The flavored yogurt sold as a light probiotic breakfast. The smoothie. The granola. The bottle of sweet tea. A single cup of fruit-on-the-bottom yogurt can carry as much sugar as a bowl of ice cream, tucked under a label that tells you it is good for you. We touched on what sugar does, and it is worth saying plainly. Every jolt of added sugar sets off a small inflammatory response inside you. One now and then does no harm. But a sweet yogurt at breakfast, a sweetened coffee mid-morning, a snack bar in the afternoon, and your body rides a low inflammatory wave through most of the waking day. Your joints feel that as a soreness that never quite lifts. The swap keeps everything you liked about it. Start with plain yogurt, the thick unsweetened kind, which still gives you the protein and the good bacteria. Then sweeten it yourself with those berries, and if you need more, a small drizzle of honey. You will use a fraction of the sugar and control every bit of it. For a warm drink, green tea is a smart choice, rich in its own calming polyphenols. The mistake is trusting the front of the package again. Sugar hides under a dozen names in the ingredient list. Learn to flip the carton over, and you take back a meal you thought was already doing you good. And now number 5, the one I promised, the food you very likely keep on your counter because it was sold to you as the heart-healthy choice. Everyday vegetable and seed oils. The big bottles of corn, soybean, and generic vegetable oil that most fried and packaged food is cooked in, and that many of us switched to years ago believing we were doing the right thing. These oils are not poison, and this is not about fear. The problem is balance. They are very high in a fat called omega-6. You need some omega-6, but your body uses omega-6 and omega-3 like the two ends of a seesaw. Omega-3 helps calm inflammation. Omega-6 in excess tends to push it the other way. The modern kitchen pours in far more omega-6 than omega-3, and that lopsided balance keeps the fire fed. Heat those oils over and over, the way a deep fryer does, and they break down further into compounds that irritate the body even more. That is why the deep-fried fish never counted. So this is the finale swap, and it is a genuine pleasure to make. For your everyday cooking, pour extra virgin olive oil instead. It carries a natural compound called oleocanthal, which acts on some of the very same inflammation pathways in your body that a pain reliever like ibuprofen works on. Gently and as food rather than a drug, but the direction is the same, toward calm. Then bring your omega-3 back up with the fish from number 2, and the seesaw starts to level out. The mistake here is reaching for light or extra light olive oil, expecting more benefit. Those are refined, and light refers to the flavor, not the fat. You want the cloudy green, peppery extra virgin kind. That peppery catch at the back of your throat is the oleocanthal itself. You are tasting the calm going in. Now, subtracting those 5 is most of the battle. but let me hand you a short list to add on purpose, because filling the plate with calming foods leaves less room for the ones that feed the fire. Beyond the fish, the olive oil, the berries, and the nuts we already covered, lean on leafy greens like kale, collard greens, and Swiss chard, which bring their own inflammation-calming compounds. Cook with color. Deep orange sweet potatoes, red cabbage, broccoli, tomatoes. And keep 2 workhorses in the cupboard, turmeric and ginger. Both have been studied for their calming effect on sore, swollen joints, and a little turmeric stirred into eggs or soup, or fresh ginger grated into hot water, adds up over a week. None of these does the job alone, and none needs to. They simply give your body more of the raw material it uses to keep that fire low. Step back and look at the 5. White bread, processed meat, packaged snacks, hidden sugar, and the everyday frying oil. Notice that not one of them asked you to go hungry or give up eating well. Every fix was a trade. Coarse real grain for fine flour. Fish for deli meat. Nuts and berries for the snack aisle. Plain yogurt for the sweet kind. Olive oil for the fryer. And why go to the trouble? Because that low background fire is not really about food in the end. It is about whether you can kneel in the garden and get back up, keep pace with a grandchild without your knees filing a complaint, open a stiff jar, climb your own stairs, and stay in your own home doing your own things. Calmer joints make for calmer days. You will not feel it overnight. Give it a few weeks of steady, ordinary meals, and the mornings tend to loosen first. And remember that honest line from the start. None of this is a reason to change anything your doctor has you on. It is the quiet daily work your fork does in between visits on your side at every single meal. Pick just one of the 5 to change this week. One is enough to start turning the fire down. If these plain breakdowns help you eat with a little more confidence, the channel is full of them, so stay a while and look around.